Let's get some reaction on this. Farzana Botha, who's the Segment Solutions Manager at Sanlam Savings, joins me for more. Thanks so much for your time on SABC News. So what does it mean that the South African Reserve Bank hiked repo rates to 4.25%?
Okay, so I think the easy way to explain it is that the repo rate is the rate at which our Reserve Bank lends money to commercial banks. And commercial banks are the ones that our consumers engage with, all of us do. So now that they've increased their lending rate, the amount that the commercial banks need to pay back in terms of their loans has increased. So from a consumer point of view, when we're going to take loans out from our commercial bank, this will translate to increase for us as well.
All right, let's stay more on that. The prime lending rate of commercial banks has increased. We know that. Tell me more about what it means for consumers in South Africa, specifically on a day-to-day basis.
So what that means is that when we are servicing any debt based on any loans that we have with the bank, the rate that we're paying now has increased. So for example, if you had a 10,000 Rand bond with a bank, you can expect to pay a couple of R100 more on that particular loan. So what does it mean for your budget? It now means that suddenly with that announcement, however you budgeted, you need to factor in that the rate that you are now paying for that particular loan has increased. And this filters through on all the other loans that you have, say your car loan or your credit card loan. So suddenly all the money that you had budgeted for all these expenses has now been extended further. So that's what it means in a very basic level. This also means that consumer goods that we are purchasing will have to increase because those businesses that are providing a service to us also have been impacted by this interest rate. So they need to translate that in their pricing. So now we're suddenly going to pay more for some of the goods and services that we are regularly engaging with.
Okay. What advice would you give to people living in South Africa now who may be concerned about the implications of not only this interest rate hike, inflation and other cost pressures?
One of the things is that for certain we can expect that there will be some more gradual increases. So the advice that I can give consumers, and myself being one of them, of course, is that we need to be, for one, draw on our resilience. So we've endured this and we need to be a little savvy in terms of how we manage our money. So, and this is being fully aware of the fact that this comes at pressure and stress to the consumer. So when we're looking at our finances, we need to look for those opportunities to service the debt. Because once we service the debt, the amount that we are now liable for in those areas starts to reduce and it frees up a little bit of money so that we can have a level of preparedness for these increased expenses going forward, even if it's just our normal consumer goods like your daily expenses. Mm-hmm. So what we want to try and do is we want to try and service debt. So when you're looking at your budget now, look at those things that you are paying interest on and see how can you start to put any additional money that you have towards those things to reduce that debt, the time period of that debt, which will give you some freedom in the future. Also, in terms of the resilience that I said, try not to allow yourself to feel overwhelmed. What you want to do is that you want to partner with a professional, and that's why I'm here today as well, speaking on behalf of Sanlam, is that we have these professionals at the company who can partner with individuals to help them on this journey to make sense of all of this, to look at the budget, to look at their finances and their debt and see how can we control this. Mm-hmm. And through that partnership as well, it will help the consumer to feel a little bit more capable to navigate all these things that are coming at them from a high level.
Yeah, people often think, I mean, as an aside, people often think that financial advisors are expensive and you only get one when you get to a certain level in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. So at the Sanlam, in our stable and with most companies, financial advice on a basic level is free. So we have normal consumer education projects that we run as a company that clients can readily and freely access on our web portal. And if you want to have further discussions, if you want to unpack some of these things so that you understand better, you can request to speak to a financial advisor. And even that basic conversation, in most instances, is free. And from there, if there's a plan that needs to be put in place and if there are products that need to service the need, that's where some of those costs come in. But those costs, even in that instance, it's more related to how the solution is fitting your problem. And that in itself will fix some of the issues that you're addressing. And then that cost is not really a cost, but it's actually more an investment in your financial freedom.
Sometimes also built in as a percentage of your investment rather than paying the financial advisor on a day-to-day basis. But that's an aside. Yeah. Let's go back to the future that you spoke about. Do you think we will see other hikes and more pressure on consumers for the rest of the year and perhaps even next year?
Unfortunately, the pressure will remain. Definitely, you see it even in the last few weeks with the petrol price increases and inflation being experienced at a higher level. That pressure exists, and in terms of the interest rate, we are expecting that there will be gradual increases going forward based on the budget speech that we've heard, and there will be gradual normalization that will happen from an interest rate perspective. But just for the consumer understanding, we've experienced broadly, that is across the global sectors, that inflation has been at a significantly lower rate. So we can expect that through normalization, there will be gradual increases to bring it back in par with what it should be.
All right, Farzana Botha, who is the Segment Solutions Manager at Sanlam Savings, joining me there. Thanks so much for your time and insight on SABC News this afternoon.